So the closing, so that's what everybody's always worried about. What do they say? It's not how you start, it's how you finish. So it's pretty important, same in speeches. The best way to do a closing is to tie it in to your opening. So good movies to watch for this. American Beauty, was that the name of Kevin Spacey?
Yep.
American Beauty, Casino.
Yep.
Yep. Thinking of others.
Big Lebowski.
Big Lebowski.
Yep.
Yes. Those are the type of movies where you start in one place, and then at the end, you finally get the answer. That takes some time, some skill, and some technique to develop, but that is absolutely your best way to close. And the reason being is because if I tell a story and leave it open-ended, and then all of a sudden we're back to that same story at the very end, then it's instinctively I know, okay, this is the end of the speech, and then people know when to clap, which is always the most important part, right? So if you can make a circle out of your speech, it's the wrapping paper that just puts the final bow on top. So an example of this, and I'll just walk through it very quickly, is typically in my communication seminars. I open up with a story of, I don't know how to shortcut the story. Basically, so when I came to this seminar here today, I drove in my car that I personally own. Now I know that may not be a big deal to each and every one of you, but as an entrepreneur who started her first business at the age of 21, owning something is kind of a big deal. It's not anything fancy. It's a Honda Accord. Gets me from point A to point B. I'm not a big car enthusiast, so I love my car. The problem is that when I drive, I don't necessarily drive the way that they taught you to drive in driving school. So I put my lipstick on while I'm driving, I look at my phone, I live in Oklahoma so we can talk on the phone, and I hold the phone in my ear. I'm even like backing up. I never check my mirrors because honestly, when do they ever shift? I tailgate sometimes, I yell at people. They can't hear me though. I yell at people sometimes. I go kind of fast because I run late. I'm a good driver because, knock on wood, I haven't gotten into an accident yet, but I'm not driving the way I'm supposed to. But it's interesting because if you flash back to when I was 15 and a half, when you start to drive in the States, the car that I drove was an absolute piece of and it was a clunker. It was ugly. It was a 1993 Dodge Dynasty. That's right. Big pimpin' in that baby. Had fake leather on the top that was totally cracked and peeling. Had dings, had scratches, had been in a few accidents. Oh, terrible. Reggie was her name. But you want to know how I drove that car? So carefully. So carefully every single day. Seatbelt, check the mirrors. 10 and 2, baby. Looking back, careful. Gave plenty of distance between me and the other cars. So what happened? What happened from driving a piece of junk to a car that I love and not driving it carefully? I started taking that skill for granted. There's also another skill set that we take for granted every single day. And that's how we communicate with one another. The only difference between when I learned to drive my car and when we learned to communicate is that we were too young to learn the process of communication when we were learning the process of communication. So then we go into the whole spiel of communication. Then at the end, I come back to, so as you're driving away in your cars after today's conference, don't take that skill set for granted. Be careful and be considerate to your other drivers. And also, don't take the skill set of how we talk and how we listen to one another for granted either. Be careful and be considerate to one another. And then that's the end. So you see how that ties together. So that's the best advice I can give for closing.